Isn't it? It's bad on the table though, right?
You can do. I want you to feel lax.
Right at home. This is my.
You put your feet up, kick your shoes off. Let's scoop some scoop. What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. Joining me this week, Justin Davis,
Scoop.
Vince Ingenito,
Scoop.
Sam Claiborne.
I was just relaxing by the pool.
We got a great show for you this week. We're going to talk some more about the Nintendo NX. We're going to talk about the witness and the price of games. Woo. But first, we begin this week in Bonnie, Scotland.
I just want to say I'm a big fan of the "but first" at this that kicks off at the beginning of every game scoop.
Yeah.
You should have like a graphic that goes along with it.
But first, Bonnie, Scotland. James from Bonnie, Scotland emails us this week. Remember, you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com.
I knew a woman named Bonnie Scotland.
Well, Bonnie is... That's weird. Anyway, James says, "Hey, Damon and Justin, and hosts number 3 and 4.
Ooh. Wow.
Listened to you for years.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Your podcast is
James.
definitely..."
You got Bonnie on the brain.
Says your podcast is definitely one of my highlights of the week. My question is twofold. With all the hardware being released these days, is there really a lot of hardware being... I guess there's all these VR headsets coming out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you think the project name given has an impact on the hype surrounding a new system? I'm thinking about the NX and how Nintendo could lose some momentum when they eventually announce it as the Wii 3 or some other uninspired name. Got me into thinking about some of the best and worst development names we've had in recent years. Some of the biggest disappointments you've had with names when hardware has been announced. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, first of all, let's call them Codename because it's so much cooler.
I like Codenames.
Codename.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of, it really sets the tone for, there's a Nintendo Revolution, and the DS was the Nitro.
Yeah?
Yeah, there have been some really good ones. The black belt, for the Dreamcast had several nicknames. It was the white belt at one point, it was the black belt, it was the Katana, and I would buy the hell out of any of those three things.
Yeah.
The first one I remember was Ultra 64.
Oh yeah,
That
absolutely.
was the first one, and then I didn't really think about it for
Project
years.
Reality, as it was called even before that.
Really? It was
Yeah,
called
Project Reality was its first.
Yeah, it was Project Reality.
But Ultra 64, it told you what it was. It was like a more, because the last system was called Super Nintendo.
Right.
So Ultra Nintendo, they had to go there. And then at the time, 16-bit and 32-bit were really big terms.
Oh yeah.
They were just terms and they didn't really mean anything after 16-bit. But 64-bit, it was a thing, and Ultra 64 just told you this is going to be an advanced system.
Well, I think it's really interesting that they're internal. You have to call the project something within the company, so they come up with Dolphin or whatever they want to call it. But it totally is like marketing, even though it's not like an outward-facing name. Usually, sometimes they use it at E3 and stuff, but they end up leaking out, and people know what that code name is. So you have to make it something cool, even though it's just basically for internal use, and you're not going to name the console that.
And it's weird that you're right. It's totally marketing. And what's odd is that they forget that for the. They seem to forget that for the main name. We're not talking about what was disappointing when they announced the Nintendo's new console as the Wii. I was like, the what now?
No, people lost their minds.
The what?
That was coming off of the GameCube. Everyone thought that was when Nintendo was in giant trouble. They go through a cycle of being on top and being in massive trouble. But and then they announced the name of that console, and there were people gnashing their teeth and weeping in the streets and tearing off their shirts. Why did you call it the Wii? And then we were all so wrong. It turned out to be literally
the name didn't hurt it, right?
It turned out to be bigger than Jesus.
I contend that every single game system has a ridiculous name. And the Wii happened to be a little bit on the goofy end, but I think Game Boy is equally as goofy as Wii.
But is it really that goofy? It describes exactly what it is, though. You know what I mean?
It's like the
GameCube.
No.
It's not a game. It's not a Game Boy.
But think about the other.
I'm a Game Boy.
Think about the other portable electronics that are popular at the time, though, right? You've got the Walkman, right?
Yeah.
And
The Walkman.
So the Walkman.
The Game Boy.
It's marketed for a younger audience. I don't know. I think it makes sense.
Game Boy is a playoff Walkman for sure.
Yeah, absolutely it is. I don't think it's nearly as out
What
there.
about PlayStation?
PlayStation's totally a good name.
That's totally descriptive.
Where you play.
And Xbox.
Is that a station?
I mean, Xbox
Can be.
Xbox was famously born out of DirectX, the Direct Xbox from Microsoft's sort of PC gaming roots.
But admittedly sounds silly. But admittedly,
I remember that sounding like intentionally like edgy and marketing-y at the time.
Oh yeah.
What about
for sure.
the Nintendo Entertainment System? Is that a dumb name?
Yeah, so it sounds like it's supposed to sound like a VCR.
it's a system. It entertains you, and it's by Nintendo. This makes
Now,
perfect sense, Sam.
Atari Video Computer System is pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That's
Or
pretty
what
cool.
about that Commodore 64? That was pretty good. All right, dialing it back a little bit here. Speaking of Game Boy, its codename was Dot Matrix Game. I like that one.
And that's because the screen was dot matrix screen.
But for years, we're internally at Nintendo where we need work on the Dot Matrix game. Yes. Proceeding according to plan.
That is strange.
I like NGP for the Vita.
Yeah.
I had forgotten that.
Yeah, next generation portable.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. I wouldn't have been totally averse to them keeping that abbreviation for it. Although I think the Vita's a pretty good name actually.
What?
I like Vita.
It doesn't mean anything.
It's the PlayStation Vita. It's PlayStation Life.
Well.
It's your PlayStation Life everywhere you go.
Well, it didn't help
Sam.
it.
Yeah.
No, it didn't. Sadly.
Do you know what Virtual Boys was? Virtual Utopia Experience.
Wow.
Or VUX. Virtual Utopia. Would you describe the experience of using the Virtual Boy as Utopia?
Bucks you up, man.
That's true. That is true.
Wait, you played a Virtual Boy for the first time recently at my house, right?
At your house.
What'd you think?
Unbelievably bad.
Oh yeah.
I think it looks awesome.
I think it looks
love
awesome,
the
too.
red and black look of it. I don't actually want to use it for any real length of time.
Yeah.
It is shocking, not to derail it, but it's unbelievable that the Virtual Boy is a real thing that Nintendo released.
Yeah, it's
and
kind of
had-
like a reality split in two directions there. We got the Virtual Boy and somebody else got
Yeah,
something
like
really
we're in the dark universe of like it's like when you're watching like The Flash or reading a comic book and you're like, man, they really have it bad over there. That's us with the Virtual Boy and we don't know it.
We'll all have like tears of
Codename
blood
Bucks.
streaming down our face.
Yeah, with Nintendo 64, we talked about how it was Project Reality and then Ultra 64. The GameCube was Dolphin.
Yeah, famously a Dolphin Cove. Fran
Now,
Miller.
that was Fran's fan site.
Before you-
We have our director of video here, Fran Mirabella, was a Nintendo editor here many years ago,
And GameCube superfan.
and he came from a site that was named after the code name of the GameCube.
Yeah.
I think we all, maybe not all of us, but certainly Fran and I have that shared history of working on just terrible, weird fan sites before we got into this business professionally. I worked for Nintendo.
Oh wow, that's good.
I worked for Total PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean they're not
That
bad.
wasn't terrible.
like they're
I love
professional in the sense that they pay like it's not like
yeah,
a labor.
absolutely.
I had to pitch a blog to, I pitched the first video game blog to the Arizona Daily Star newspaper in Arizona, and it was called, the name was called Ready Game Fire.
Ready Game Fire. I like that one. That's pretty good.
It's catchy.
But I like the name GameCube. I think that describes that machine perfectly.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It's got the best opening. What would you call it? Like splash screen of any console. I've been
Really, even better than the 360. The 360 splash screen is pretty godlike.
I like the game.
So is the original PlayStations.
Yeah, the original PlayStation is really good.
Yeah. We should do. I want to rank them all now.
What about just like the Konami and Capcom?
Wait, those splash screens.
Good. The Cap console's really good.
What do you call those?
Splash
Like a
screens.
splash screen.
Splash screen.
Yeah.
I actually love
Before the
Capcom's
screen.
when they started doing the voice. Capcom Presents.
Yeah.
A little echo on the end of it. That was
I don't know, what era
really
is
good.
that?
Yeah.
16-bit.
Yeah.
That's 16-bit.
Really?
Yeah, they started doing that.
The Sega Genesis ones were just Sega. Like Sega.
That's a really good one too.
Yeah, it is really good.
This is a real feature.
Yeah, this is
We're doing this video.
Do it. If only we knew someone who did features here.
We just did it. It's done.
We talked about how the DS was Nitro, Wii was Revolution. So you want to talk about Nitro?
What's interesting about Nitro is, and I think this is fairly common, but I remember Nitro specifically, is they didn't have the final name. They didn't pin down, yes, Nintendo DS, that's the name, until late-ish in the process.
Yeah.
And so if you look at like the back of a cart, every single DS cart to this day, it's like NTR dash number, and that's like the cart. That's their naming convention.
I'm surprised that Nitro was a thing. I don't remember that term at all.
and
I don't remember reading about
I remember reading Nintendo DS as the product or the code name.
Codename.
And then they
just ended
kept
up
it.
nailing
That's what I thought the
naming it,
story
yeah.
was. Maybe that was 3DS.
But
Was
that's
that
where,
3DS?
and there's other examples. Like I think, man, I might be wrong, but I think N64 carts, their cart numbering system is PGR dash number. But
Wow.
that might not be right. But I know Nitro is NTR.
That's really cool.
Yeah, because they don't know, like they didn't know what the final name was going to be. So
Nitro would have been so weird, but DS was always bad.
yeah,
It just wasn't marketed.
Dual screens.
yeah.
And what if we had lived in a world where the PS4 was actually the Orbis?
Yeah.
What would have happened? How would things be different?
Yeah, we'll get there. Give me 1 second. Do you remember Wii U being named Project Cafe?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
We
that.
wrote stories on IGN.
I co-owned ProjectCafe.com with Mark Ryan Salee.
Wow.
We bought it when it was announced.
When was the last update?
We put a like button on it. It got like 50 likes, and then it went away forever. But we had it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Man, the Dreamcast, you mentioned its codename was Katana.
Yeah.
Like, man, I was so excited when I heard that Sega's next system was called the Katana.
Yeah.
As just like someone who
That is
grew
pretty
up
cool.
loving video games, loving ninjas, like I could not buy that system hard enough. And then they announced the real name is the Dreamcast. It's like hippy dippy. It was like, what? What is this Dreamcast?
Yeah.
You guys are harsh. I like the Dreamcast.
I
like that system.
I love that system.
But Genesis and Saturn were pretty good names.
Those are really cool.
Master System was pretty
Dope ass
strange.
name for a console.
It's the Master System.
Game Gear was strange
Genesis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I like the Sega Nomad.
I love the Nomad.
That's a good name. Yeah,
and
because it's
both the
a
name and
portable
the system.
Genesis.
Sega CD is pretty cool. Because CDs were really cool at the time. You got to
Right,
remember
right,
they
right.
weren't.
Yeah.
They weren't.
This is a video game.
Sega CDs. And then of course 32X is pretty funny.
32X.
But Dreamcast is. I've always thought that was strange. We're all pretty used to it now, but I thought that was as goofy as the Wii when that was announced.
Yeah, about the same feeling.
Game Boy Advance's codename was Atlantis.
Oh yeah.
I don't really remember people using that, but
I don't think I was following the pre-production stuff about Game Boy Advance. Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
it just
me
wasn't a big topic for me.
What's weird is that from the hip, that sounds like a Sega code name, not a Nintendo code name based on what we know now.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think I was already working for Nintendo by the time that
Nintendo.
the GBA was.
Is Nintendo still around?
No, God no. No, it wasn't around like a year after it was founded. But I bounced around doing stuff like that till I got work professionally.
You mentioned how the name Xbox originally came from Direct Xbox, but other code names that they use internally to try and sell this video game system to Microsoft was Windows Entertainment Project or Microsoft Midway, inferring it was midway between a video game console and an entertainment
Oh, but it's
box.
not like a Midway? Like
not
an
like
arcade?
not like the company Midway.
Yeah, but like a Midway is like a term for like go play arcade games at the Midway. Like so it kind of works both
yeah,
ways.
I guess so.
Huh.
Midway?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
I just think of it as Midway in Chicago.
Yeah,
Right.
the
that's what I
developer.
think.
Xbox 360's codename was Xenon. It's
Xenon.
based on the
Xenon.
chip that's
Yeah,
in there.
The gas. The noble gas.
Yep.
Very noble.
As you mentioned, Vita was NGP. Do you remember Connect? What Connect's codename was?
Natal.
Project Natal, yeah.
Natal.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
You ever seen what the bottom of an avatar's foot looks like? Bam!
Bam!
I don't remember that.
That was when Natal was revealed, and
Yeah.
then it was one of those things where it wasn't as bad as the PlayStation VR thing that just didn't work, but like the Natal was being like glitchy on stage and not working that great, and the avatar, this guy was moving around and the Kinect was reading it, and then the avatar was supposed to be moving to how the guy was moving, and he lifts up his foot, and then the avatar goes, and it just doesn't work. It's a really funny clip if you go back and look it up.
Yeah. Even like the current gen consoles, their codenames Orbis and Durango. Like I had almost forgotten that. Like for a long time, I was doing news stories in actually talking about the PlayStation Orbis and Microsoft Durango.
And the Durango had somebody tried to sell a Durango.
Yeah,
dev
like
unit
the dev
on
kit.
eBay, remember? And
Right.
Yeah.
They got tracked down.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then just last year, we were calling PlayStation VR Morpheus.
That's right.
Yeah. And NX, of course.
Yeah, that brought us to the topic at hand, the Nintendo NX. What do you think about James from Bonnie Scotland's question? Do you think a code name affects the hype of the system?
Now it does. I don't know if it did back in the day.
Yeah, because people didn't really know about it too widely back in
Well,
the
we
day.
didn't
but
talk
now,
about the Atari situation, but like, yeah, they didn't expect anybody to know their code.
That
Yeah.
was, I'm sure that wasn't publicly known back then. The days of
Now I
Atari.
think you've got to, especially in the digital age and the age of information, when things leak and then propagate so freely, you have to know that like whatever you decided to call your project internally is eventually going to become an external moniker, and that you should just probably design it around that.
Especially because Nintendo just calls it that and talks about it.
Right.
It holds press conferences about it.
Project Kick-Ass.
Yeah, right. Project Blow Your Mind.
right?
But it will be funny to find out what their reasoning was behind
NX,
that. What is
yeah.
their internal like little acronym that it is or whatever it is.
Yeah. Next.
Next.
I don't
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the Nintendo NX, we've got some Some more rumors are surfacing today. Reports say it may work with other devices. This is a Wall Street Journal reporter. Says the source tells them it could work with other devices, including PCs or the PS4.
Well, I didn't actually. I just skimmed the Wall Street Journal article. I thought this came from like a survey that Nintendo sent out.
There were two sources. There's this source, and then there's this survey from this company that works with Nintendo that says it will have an achievement-based system. It can do 4K video streaming, and it'll have 900p, 60 frames per second graphics.
So yeah, those are all really interesting. But the first thing you said was the working with other systems.
Yeah.
And that's potentially because it's a screen and a controller that could work with other stuff. I mean, is that the crux of it you understand?
Well, but the fact that so I thought maybe we've talked about Nintendo sort of uniting a handheld with a TV system, but working with a PlayStation 4. I mean, I can't even imagine.
Well, I can imagine what it is.
Lay it on us.
It's a cloud gaming service.
Yeah, I think so too.
And that's where they're headed.
So what is their console then? Just one option where you can play? You could also play it on.
Yeah, their console. So they either.
Oh, you're saying the subscription service that they talked in the survey is the thing they're announcing, and they have some hardware for it, but maybe you could access it like Netflix and other things.
Yeah, and the idea is either you buy the hardware and have it in your own home, or if you don't want to buy the hardware or can't buy the hardware, you can maybe subscribe to some kind of a service and stream and download an app, and then you can stream NX games on other game consoles. How crazy would that be?
I think that's certainly plausible. That's one step farther than like I would probably predict. I think it's probably just online functionality. Like that would be my guess. It's like you can log into Facebook on your console if you want, and I feel like you'll be able to log into a Nintendo account on other platforms than that Nintendo account.
Right.
I don't expect it to extend much farther than that. I mean, who knows, right? We're all just guessing, but that would be my guess. Is that they're like, maybe you'll be able to see your friends and messages on this other console, like.
So a lot of people in the office got hung up on the 900p thing.
That is because it's not 1080.
Yes. So a couple thoughts that I just heard from people talking about it a lot today, and that I came up with too. One is that the Xbox One primarily runs at 900p.
Yep.
It looks fantastic.
Rise of the Tomb Raider is gorgeous.
I actually still am like obsessive about how it's not at 1080p, and I think about it, and I make that factors in my decisions to play games. But when I'm actually in the game playing it, stuff, it doesn't matter too much, right?
Yeah.
But also the iPhone is a higher resolution than that, but the Wii U gamepad is 480, so that's. Much more than it would be. So if it does have a screen on a gamepad, or if it's a streaming device that streams to your television, what that's saying is that it's more powerful than the gamepad. That's interesting. The screen will be less dense with pixels than it is on an iPhone handheld. So it's kind of an in-between thing. But if you think about it, what the iPhone is not good at is what's it called when you play with something and then it's on a TV? It has a term.
I mean, they have AirPlay.
AirPlay, yes. AirPlay is pretty laggy and it doesn't work so hot.
Right.
You have to have a lot of processing power still to have something on one device that streams really nice to a TV.
Well,
so
Nintendo,
900 seems like the target they're going for to make that work.
Nintendo figured that out. Like a lot of people don't really give the Wii U enough credit for
solving that problem.
They have proprietary technology in that problem of streaming from a device to your TV. That's like Nintendo figured it out over a course of years and years and years, and it uses tech. Like it's not just using like standard Bluetooth or anything like that. Unlike literally everyone else, like every other solution that's out there. Like the way that they're doing that is unique and special to Nintendo, which is cool. Like it's badass. And I never really thought that much about it until I was like, oh yeah, I guess that is true. Like I'm playing this on, like I played Smash on my gamepad probably more than I played on my TV. And like it's pretty rad that the gamepad has this tech in it. And I would expect that to factor into their next device in some capacity. We just have too many questions. Like you're right that the iPhone now is more pixels per inch than a 1080p television, but the actual it matters how big the screen is, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard to until we know is it some weird handheld console hybrid. Like I don't know, like it's tough to read too much into it.
We also have a quote from current Nintendo president Kimishima this week, who says the company is not looking to build on old ideas, but offer entirely new ones. And the top comment on our article on IGN says that quote should fill everyone with fear. because apparently this gamer, this
good
gamer in
hyperbole.
particular,
I like it.
wants a traditional video game console with a great controller. They don't want Nintendo to keep trying to reinvent the wheel.
Well, but it doesn't mean that Nintendo's trying to not reinvent their own system, the Wii U, and so they don't want to do some kind of two-screen thing?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's them saying that they want to do something different for them, which is actually make a traditional
Yeah, exactly.
system for the first time in a
Exactly.
decade. You know, like, that would be cool.
My question to you three is, what do you really want out of the Nintendo NX?
I want Nintendo to return to its bread and butter.
Yeah, me too.
Super Nintendo,
exactly
a game console that just plays great games,
That
and
plays
has a great
amazing
controller.
games and has a great controller that is technologically up to snuff with what its contemporaries are doing, and leverage that power and that design and development flexibility that a traditional controller gives you to make great games the way only Nintendo knows how.
Yeah, I actually,
That's all I want.
for me personally, I don't even care if it's technologically up to snuff. You know, what I want, like it's Justin Davis's dream universe. Yeah, I want the Super Nintendo 2, and I want Super Mario World 3, and I want Link to the Past 2, and like that's what I want from Nintendo. Obviously, that's not financially viable. That's not what they're going to do, but that's
Well,
what
they did do Link to the Past too.
And it was
That's
and it was
true, but-
amazing.
Yeah,
And it
except
was
for
amazing.
artistically, it was
It's pretty
awful.
crummy looking.
Yeah,
I don't know,
so
it's awful. I mean, I didn't like it as
that is an ugly game. I thought
that's a really
the
strong
gameplay was great. Like I voted for
Yeah.
it for best 3DS game and yada yada. But like I would take Link to the Past style over it in a heartbeat.
Well, yeah, I agree with you.
What about Super Mario World 2? That was Yoshi's Island.
Yeah, that's why I said 3.
3, yes, okay.
But that's what I would want. I feel like that was Nintendo at their peak, and I would just like to see more of that.
Yep.
What about you?
Oh, I have a kind of a mix of those two things. I want to see what I'd really like is whatever is going to make Nintendo games shine is fine with me. But I also really like when Nintendo is seen as and it feels to me as they're the technological leader in something. So even though the Wii was behind in graphical power, they were still a technological leader in this kind of interactive. We didn't like it too much, but Wii Sports was amazing, and it was so amazing that it was on every morning show in the country. And Brain Age was amazing for its own ways too. And I like to see them lead in a tech space in some way.
Yeah, I think more
Graphically, it'd be great.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I want to
been a while.
trying to wrap my brain around what a Super Mario Galaxy 3 looks like on a machine more with today's specs.
What's that team working on? That Tokyo team's working on something awesome, I'm sure.
What do you want to see, Damon?
Definitely like along the same lines as a more traditional console. Although it's just it would be hard to think how that would fit in because there's never been a time when 3 consoles have been able to survive at the same
Sure.
time on the market. It's always just been 2.
They haven't done the same thing, just lined up 1-to-1 with their competitors since the Super Nintendo.
It's true.
Ever since then, they've been doing their own thing.
Yeah.
I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
But I've said this probably on GameScoop before, but it also makes our jobs and fans' enjoyment I think greater that Nintendo is doing something different. So
Yeah.
instead of having 3 of the same thing competing in the same ways, it's neat to have them as a force of just goofy fun. And I hope they just whatever happens, I hope they stay that.
We should be finding out more about the Nintendo NX over the next few months. But sooner than that, next week, the long-awaited game The Witness is finally out. The follow-up to Braid from Jonathan Blow. Something totally different, not a sequel or anything from Braid. First person
7 years in the making.
Yeah, I know.
puzzle game, a new Myst.
This is no exaggeration, probably the game I've most anticipated, most excited for in a couple years.
Wow.
Probably. Cannot wait for The Witness. Braid was so good.
But you're in an office of people playing it right now.
I know, but
How's that working out?
how much can we talk about that? Like,
We can't at all.
Yeah.
I just want to play the finished retail final game and just experience it for myself. Every indication is that, reviews will be what they are, but every indication is that it is the real deal. Like it's delivering on the hype. One of the best puzzle games ever made, coming from someone that I think is a bona fide genius. Here's the deal. I think Jonathan Blow catches a lot of flack for being pretentious. I don't think he's pretentious. I think he's just smarter than almost everyone, including all of us. Like I think
I totally agree with you.
anytime he goes into a room, I think he's probably the smartest person in that room. And I think
we've
it's
talked about
hard
this.
for that to not feel threatening to people. And when he talks about his big ideas and philosophy and trying to put one of that in games and thinking that most games are juvenile, that comes off as pretentious, but I think he's just being honest to himself. And so you have someone that, in my opinion, is a genius that took all of his fortune. He became a multimillionaire from Braid and poured all of his money and 8 years of his life and hired a team and
I think
turned
Deja scoop.
But like you turned all that around, like, and now this is it. This is the product of this guy, you know, taking his millions and millions of dollars in 8 years of his life to make the follow-up. Like that to me is the most exciting thing happening in video games.
It's an exciting, whether or not The Witness ends up being the kind of game that like you might want to play. I mean, I know that you will find it that kind of game. I will. I think a lot of us will. But like whether or not you look at that game and go, okay, yeah, that excites me. That's my thing. Like I feel like just that story has to be inspiring to you. Like you said, he could literally have just lived easy after that. After Braid and all that, he went through a lot to get that game made. I mean, so even after that, he could have just put his feet up and said, well, I did it.
Well, I mean, or make another $10 game in another 3 years, another $10 game after that. But he went like it's a big risk, and every indication. The thing that excites me most about The Witness, and I'm not having to watch my words because I'm not one of the people in the office playing it. That game is supposedly gigantic,
and I can tell you without going into specifics, it is gigantic. It's a lot big. I think a lot of people have the impression that, oh, it's going to be a cute little adventure game with some puzzles.
Yeah.
I'll be done with it in 4 to 6 to 8, 10 hours.
Like we've never seen what is a AAA puzzle game?
Well,
Portal, I guess.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
And so it's like, to me, this is the first AAA puzzle game we've gotten since Portal, and that's incredible. Like it doesn't happen.
I mean,
and there's a lot more content there than in Portal. Like, again, I don't want to talk specifics, but so much more content there than Portal.
Well, they announced this week that The Witness costs $40.
Yep.
People are so mad. Them being mad makes me so mad, and I normally don't bother getting involved.
Yeah,
right.
Wait, this is all a segue to get to a question from Damon?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. It's actually not from me. It's from Big Tony Style.
Big Tony Style. I can be a little bit racist because I'm Italian.
It's fine. You got that vowel on the end of your name. It's fine.
Big Tony Style says, it's pretty surprising that most retail games still remain $60 a pop, relatively cheap compared to old cartridge games.
Good, yes, that is why it's...
We've started to see downloadable titles creep up just a little, from 15 to 20, sometimes even higher. When, if at all, do you see the price of retail games seeing a standard increase? So $60 has been the standard for 10 years, ever since the last generation of consoles, Xbox 360.
Yeah.
In that time,
it's tough.
Cost of AAA development has skyrocketed, and yet games still remain the same. One workaround is through season passes and downloadable content. They have effectively raised the price of games too.
Yeah, I feel like we've touched on this
$90, $100.
a little bit in Scoop before, where there's a concept in retail and lots of other industries called revenue per user, ARPU.
Yep.
And so it used to be a game with $60. You bought, Mortal Kombat Trilogy for the PlayStation. It was $50, and that was all you could ever get. But now the game still costs $60, but you do the math of you have a $30 season pass, and 10% of your players are going to buy it. So now you've upped your ARPU from $60 to $63 thanks to that season pass. And there's a collector's edition that's $100, but it only costs you $10 to throw all that garbage in the game.
Yeah.
So now every person that buys that collector's edition, so they're nudging the revenue per user up from $60 to $70 anyway, without having to actually increase the price of the game. But that will only hold for so long.
Right, and the thing is that the funny thing about that is that when you listen to that spiel, it's some people would say, oh well, us as the player, we're kind of getting hosed because they are already jacking up the price. But I would totally disagree. What I would say is that's actually a great value. When you look at it the way you did, that's actually a great value for us, right? If they can find ways to make the money they need to make and still offer me an option to just buy the game for a standard $60, that's a win-win. That's I never really understood all the hate and backlash for some of these practices that are optional, because I'm ultimately if them selling skins or day one DLC or whatever allows them to keep charging the low, what in my mind is a very low price of $60 for a AAA game, then I'm that's great. Sell whatever you want to everyone else who wants it. Me personally, I don't care about that cosmetic stuff. I don't care about these extra little bells and whistles. If everyone else feels like they want to spend money on it, that's great. That just allows me to have a $60 experience. It's the same thing with free to play. Even it's I'm glad that they in Dota 2. I've played 500 hours of Dota 2. I've spent $10 ever just because I felt bad once, and that I can have that kind of free premium experience only because these companies find other ways besides the point of sale price to make their money. So I say keep doing it.
I think
there's other forces too. I mean, digital games mean you can cut out GameStop entirely.
This is true. Yeah.
And you don't, if you're claiming the $60 directly to the developer, that you're already making more money than you did before.
That's a fantastic point. That I would suspect, I haven't seen like the balance sheets of a big publisher, but I suspect that's a big reason the price didn't increase from 60 is because $60 at GameStop means, EA actually takes home, I don't even know, 30, 40.
Right.
But when they get to sell it for 60 directly, there's lots of
shipping and packaging. And digital media is completely changing.
I mean, there is infrastructure for delivering the download. Like, it's not insignificant. You have to have a whole team of people delivering these digital games, but it's far, far less. And so, again, that's another way that every person that buys digitally, which is, 25, 30, 50% of games sold now these days, that's more revenue per user in the publisher's pocket.
Yeah, and it's like, my opinion would be overall, like, do I want to see is it time for the price to go up? And all I would say is that depends on whether or not the gaming populace as a whole can start to feel better about all these ancillary things that companies are doing to make money. If you want to see that go away, or you feel like that's intrusive and it's bothering you and impacting your experience, if you feel like you're getting an incomplete game because your game doesn't have all those skins, then I'd say, you better start welcoming the idea of a $70 price point. If you don't mind that stuff and you see it, and this is how I feel, if you see that stuff as just optional stuff that goes on the side, someone else maybe enjoys it or wants to pay money for it, I don't really care. I'm happy with my $60 game and what comes in that package. Then I'd say, like, keep it 60 as long as you can keep your head above water and find a way to do it. Keep doing it, as far as I'm concerned.
I think that so far the discussion has been a little bit skewed, and I'm sure there's people screaming while listening to this right now, because when I was a kid, games were $60, and that was a lot more. So games have gone down, and I think they should continue to go down. And I think for the health of the industry and for the health of game development, for people to play more games and more new games, they need to be far cheaper. And we need to figure out how to develop them for far cheaper.
Well, all games...
I don't want the development to get bigger and more expensive necessarily, unless it's worth it. Because right now, there's a lot of games that are $60 that are much smaller than The Witcher 3.
Sure.
Right? I mean, there's a big tiered system. So locking it at 60 is already, I think, a negative thing.
It is. It's a little weird that Witcher 3 and Rainbow Six Siege are the same price.
A Tomb Raider or whatever. Like anything that lasts 10 hours compared to...
And if a giant publishing company can price the same games at the same price, the net earnings that they have, maybe it may balance out or whatever. What I'm trying to say is the business side of it completely aside, when I was a kid, I got a game a year, or maybe 2 games a year, and it sucked.
Yeah.
And when I got another game, like if I was able to get another game, it was a used, like totally terrible game. Like this is like through college, you go to GameStop and you get whatever is $20 and play it. And I would love to see that turned on its head. I mean, I was hoping mobile games would completely disrupt the pricing scheme of stuff, because nobody would pay for a $20 mobile game.
But it has disrupted. Like you're talking about kids. Like kids are playing Clash of Clans. They're not playing Sonic the Hedgehog.
No, it has definitely. Yeah, you're right. But it hasn't changed the $60 price tag in any meaningful way. And I just think there's something to be said for the medium to progress and for games to get bigger and for people to be able to get into it. Prices have to be different.
Well, I agree.
And they have to be lower.
I agree with you in a sense, Sam, in that not every game has to be a $60 game, and I think finding that right balance between how much content you have and what level of production you've gone for, and what kind of long-term value that game is going to have for any given player has to play into that argument. I guess my saying that I'm happy to see the price go up or stay the same is mostly in the sense that if putting the price up prevents them from having to get into like business territory where they have to like trade off goodwill for their dollars, which is a painful position to be in. Like, let's be honest, I don't want to sound like I'm sympathizing with like companies that are making millions and millions of dollars, but it's tough. Like with a game like Evolve, like I famously gave that game like a big nice score, and I didn't really in a weird kind of famous way, like more like infamous. Like people were kind of mad that like I gave it a 9, even though like there was all this day one DLC, and like my argument was like, well, I don't need those skins, so I don't care, and it doesn't affect my experience, so I'm going to give this game a superb score because that's what I think of the quality of the game. The flip side of that, though, is that did 2K do what they felt like they needed to do with the pricing of the DLC and the timing of the DLC and the new characters to make the maximum they felt like they needed to make on their investment? Sure, they did, but we also saw a great developer in Turtle Rock create a really awesome piece of software that honestly a lot of people walked away from because of what those prices were and the timing of that DLC. Does that mean that 2K was the bad guy in this situation? I don't necessarily think so, but like they're like everyone else are trying to figure out like where do you draw the line, like what's a good balance of like people feel good about this practice but we're also making the money long term that we want to make on these millions of dollars we're investing. So it's like if raising the price makes that whole tough like question go out the window and they can just like make their money and keep their players happy once they adjust to the new price point, maybe that's a win. I don't know.
We go ahead.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
You wrap it up. Give me your comment.
Oh, I mean, I just like that we live in a world where we have a wider range of. Talos Principle came out last year. I think it's on my mind because it's in the same wheelhouse as The Witness. I think that game was $50 when it came out.
Sure.
And The Witness is $40, and we see games come out at $30. Darkest Dungeon and Oxenfree are $20, and I can't think of any $10 games off the top of my head, but like we're still seeing things come in at that little bit cheaper price point. Mm-hmm. I'm playing Final Fantasy Record Keeper. It's free to play on mobile.
Yep.
And we said they run the gamut. And I think we're going to reach a point where like Call of Duty had, I don't know the details unfortunately, but it had like day one DLC that was not even really like, hey, if you want this extra thing, it was like stuff you wanted. It was like, a zombies map and like some other stuff like the digital collector's edition. And it was more than $60. And so in that way, they are sort of, I think Activision specifically is like priming people for games to not cost $60 anymore, because really you probably didn't want like the $60 version of that game. You probably wanted the $70 or $80 digital deluxe edition that included like this stuff that it is optional, like you can play the game without it, but this is what you want. This is where you want to be. And so we have that range now. I guess what I'm getting at is I'm glad we have a mid-range. We have a real plausible, like last generation, it was $60 or like Shadow Complex is $10. Like that was all you got. And now we have this mid-range of stuff like The Witness that I think is really healthy.
I feel like Shadow Complex was one of the first $20.
Was it? I thought it was 15.
I felt like that was like,
maybe 15 or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, very interesting discussion topic, Big Tony style. One more email before we get to Video Game 20 questions. This comes from David. He says, hello, Damon, Justin, and the other two.
Oh, man, I like this new trend.
This is David from Monterrey, Mexico. Love the show. It's my favorite internet show by far. First time writing in. So, the trophy and achievement system, does it have to be worthless? Sure, us completionists may like it. They give incentive to replay games, play games a certain way. They satisfy that need of completion some of us have. But in the big picture of things, gamers gain no real benefit from the intense hours of grinding, exploring, crafting, collecting, replaying.
Sure.
So I got an idea.
Ooh.
I would like to hear your opinions on how viable it is. What if PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live members would gain online credit, however small, for each trophy or achievement they acquire? At first I thought they hadn't already done this because they would lose a lot of profit from all the online credit they would give. But I think that if done correctly, it could be an incentive for gamers to buy more games, play them more than they would normally do, and play downloadable content expansions. All of these would mean more revenue to the gaming industry in general, also reward gamers who invest more money and time on games. Would this work? Am I delusional?
Doesn't Xbox do this? Don't they have a reward?
Xbox has Xbox Live rewards.
Yep.
They give you rewards for completing surveys, for spending money in the store, and for completing like missions that are given to the community. It's not directly for earning achievements.
Oh, I thought it was gamer. I thought it was tied to
But we had this conversation because Nintendo there was a rumor about them doing that when they bring back Club Nintendo, and that they want to make it. Maybe it wasn't even a rumor. I can't remember now. But we talked about it in Game Scoop, and it was about how you could be able to do stuff in games, and then you'd get credit for purchasing digital games.
Yeah, just the practical concern is that people would rent 100 games to get free credit.
Right.
But I guess I don't know. Like it's always like if you're that dedicated to spend 1,000 hours to get $50 in free credit, it's like, well, okay, like you earned your free game, dude. Like, well done. But
what if though? you could spend your gamer score, so you actually lose part of your gamer score for credit in the stores.
Nobody would do that.
I like that. Well, I mean that's the.
But maybe people that didn't care as much would do that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like
that's interesting.
My gamer score isn't super important to me, so if I could spend some of it to get half off a game,
I feel like there's too many, like to directly say, okay, your 20,000 gamer score is worth $100 in Xbox credit. I think there's too many ways to game that system or get around it. Like I said, renting games, or people might want to release games like where there's not an indie channel anymore, but if there's some equivalent of that where it's like free gamer score, 99 cents, buy our game, and we'll unlock all your achievements right away. And there's too many concerns around that. I like where his heart's at though, of making it more give you some value or some intrinsic thing. Like at the end of the year,
it's fun to be part of a club.
Yeah, at the end of the year, I like more the Club Nintendo suggestion of based on your gamer score, at the end of the year, you can redeem it for a hat or a tote bag or something like that.
Yeah.
I think the big concern from where I stand with it is that
where you sit.
Yes, from where I'm sitting, this very seat. You snarky bastard. No, my big concern would be that if they do, if let's say they instate this, right, then that means that people are going to feel driven or incentivized to play deeper into games maybe than they normally do. Like, I don't know, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it's some silly number like, you know, any given game, like if it has a completion rate of like 30% or 40%.
Nobody beats games.
Like nobody beats games, right, exactly. Nobody beats games. It's a very, very low number. So that number obviously is going to naturally go up, but I feel like in an attempt to recoup their losses by giving out discounts and credit, they would suddenly want to find ways to monetize or create some kind of in-game marketing that kicks in later on in a game experience to find ways to make that back up. And I would rather not introduce that at all. Like I would rather, again, going back to our last discussion, I would rather just pay everything I have to pay now and not have to worry about how the company is going to make its money back during the experience. Like I hate in-game marketing and things like that. And I feel like this would just be like they would have no choice but to open up more to in-game marketing, I feel like, in the later stages of a game to make sure they're getting something back out of it.
Yeah, people would either put all their achievements at the front of a game to let people unlock them earlier, or put them all at the end to say, well, if you want to get your...
Right, that's what they would do.
And no one wants to be thinking about money when they're playing a game. That's the big problem with free-to-play games.
Yep, absolutely.
That's true.
I play a lot of them. I do think... who's the guy's name?
David.
David made maybe not a better point. I mean, an interesting point at the start where like achievements, if designed well, encourage you to play a game in new ways. They can extend replay value, or they can be, crappy, tacked on. Beat Chapter 1, beat Chapter 2, kill 1,000 enemies. But like the Halo franchise, I think, is an example of some of the best achievement design in games where like beat a level without jumping. Like, that's awesome. Like that's a fun challenge to try to figure out how that works. Just like neat stuff like that. It's the difference is night and day between games that really are thoughtful about it and aren't.
And it's also cool because it gives developers a way to kind of subtly educate players on other ways and other modes of play they might not be aware of. Like I can even imagine, like in a fighting game, I can imagine people being like, all right, here's an achievement for you're knocked down, like you wake up with a dragon punch and counter the your opponent's move that they were trying to do to you as you were waking up. Like, so some people don't even think like, oh, that's a thing I can do. I can do a special move right as I wake up, and it'll deter someone from trying to like attack me as I get up. Like a player who's new to fighting games might not even think about that, but a good achievement could cue people in kind of a subtle way. Hey, try this thing out that you've never tried before. Try that thing out that you've never tried before. And it kind of opens up. It can, if done right, and we've already seen some examples of it, like you said, Justin. Like it can actually expand players' understanding of like what they can do in a game and what's possible with the tool set they've been given, which I think is really rad.
Video game 20 questions. Everyone knows how this works. My panel has 20 yes or no questions to guess this week's mystery game, which comes from Matthew.
All right, I'll
Where's
start.
Matthew from?
He doesn't say.
Oh, yeah.
It's a mystery.
Does your character wear a hat?
What? Wait, what did you just... You just broke every rule! Justin,
I was going to say we should start differently. I like that. I like it. Let's roll.
No.
What kind of are you?
It was risky. It's like betting on zero in roulette. You feel like a genius if it pays off. But most of the time it
Let's
doesn't.
burn 5 and then we win video game 15 questions.
No. I don't want to. We're going down the line. Vince can choose to whether. I think we should.
Vince is really upset right
Dude,
now.
like what kind of a?
But what if they wore a hat? We'd be on such a good spot right now.
Nah. It'd be funny, but no.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of.
If I had said yes, what would that have told you?
Yeah.
Where would you be close?
Yeah.
Would you be able to?
Dude, yeah.
Name a game with a character with a hat.
Mario.
Oh, come on.
Okay.
Mario doesn't always have a hat.
This-
So Damon would be like, well, would it count if the hat came off sometimes? So
If a snowman,
if a
perhaps.
snowman flew your hat off, what would you say, hypothetically?
All right, I'm
Does he race a cart?
The character you play as does not wear a hat.
all right. You're crazy, and I'm putting this back on track. Does your character wear sneakers?
I'm not sure what kind of footwear the character wears.
Well-
so I better not answer. I'll give you that one.
Wow.
Not gonna spend a question on that one.
Okay.
Just thinking of all these video game character shoes now.
Yeah, Sonic.
Yeah.
I would guess no,
what
but
I was
I'm not sure, so I can't say.
All right, that's fine.
But because animals don't wear sneakers. That's a people thing. Except for Sonic.
I think you're being kind of prejudiced right now.
Well, you know. Yeah. Okay.
Animals can wear sneakers if they want.
That's true. They don't even have the thumbs to put them on.
You could just go back to the old line of
Yeah.
questioning.
All right. Was this game made before 1980?
Before 1980? No.
Okay.
Do you play as a human?
Yes.
But we can't see the shoes.
Non-hat wearing human. That's such
After
characters.
1980.
That's Nathan
So-
Drake. That's Lara Croft.
So how many are we on?
3.
That's Cloud Strife.
I intentionally burned one. You guys got some. So we're doing video game 17 questions now.
So it is
It's a human. A human that doesn't wear a hat. Cool.
Okay.
A hatless, possibly sneakerless.
Possibly.
Type of
Sneakerless.
footwear is unclear.
Okay. Was this game made? Was this game released before January 1st, 2000?
No.
Great.
All right.
Same question, 2010.
Was it before 2010? Before January 1st, 2010? No.
Oh.
Okay, so it's a very recent game. Well, last
Yeah.
few years.
So it's not even. I thought it might be Uncharted, but Uncharted those came out before 2010, right?
You can see his shoes in a lot of scenes in that game.
That's true. But they're not. Are they sneakers? They're probably boots. I don't know. After 2010,
Yeah.
and you're a human
And
being.
you're a human.
It doesn't wear a
Narrowed it
hat.
down quite a bit.
Is this a sequel?
No.
Is the game a sequel?
No.
Okay.
Is the game part of a series?
Yeah, has it gotten sequels?
Not, I mean, I guess technically, but
Those are the worst.
Why is it always my question?
What was it?
He said, I guess technically.
Is it
That's part of a series?
there has been more than one game released in this sort of series, but there's only one that you will really think of.
All right, fair enough.
That is crazy. Is this based on a licensed property?
No.
Is this game 3D?
Yes.
Was this game available? Was this game released specifically? Was it exclusive to a particular platform?
Yes.
God damn it, Vince.
That's 10.
What are you guys?
That's good.
So I could if I say a specific platform, then it could be another platform. It could have been on that platform and other
that's
platforms.
good.
Okay, fair enough.
That's fine. Now we have to.
So we know
narrow
it's
it
on.
down.
It's specific to one platform.
Released after January 1st, 2000. You play as a human that doesn't wear a hat.
It's not Zach and Wiki because Zach wears a hat.
True.
Before
It is
2010.
an exclusive.
Do we want to?
It's in 3D.
Oh yeah, and it's 3D.
Do we want to narrow down?
It's not based on a licensed property, and
Did
it's not a
this,
sequel.
platform,
did
or
this
did we-
game? Did this game get a retail release?
Yes.
By that you meant I guess a boxed. You mean like a boxed on the
Yeah, retail.
shelf.
At retail. So that's actually a pretty good hint because most of the exclusives were digital, especially after 2010, which this game came out. So it's a console exclusive from after 2010. Like it's not that many of those that hit retail.
that
You don't
aren't
have to
part of a
justify your
series and
questions.
it's
You
new.
just-
I'm just saying I'm thinking through it out loud. We should narrow down console.
Yeah. You want to narrow down console or genre?
Console.
Console.
Was this a launch game?
No.
Okay, so it gets rid of knack and stuff like that.
Is it exclusive to a Microsoft console?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, there you go.
There we
So
go.
Microsoft exclusive. Where you star as a human that doesn't wear a hat,
Okay.
maybe wears sneakers. It's
do you-
and it's 3D and it hit retail.
Right. Does your character shoot in this game?
Yes.
Well, yeah, does Master Chief's helmet count as a hat? Oh, but it's not part of. It's only sort of part of a series.
Is this an open world game?
No.
It's not Sunset Overdrive.
Oh, that's a really good question, though.
Yeah.
That was a good
15.
one.
Yeah, that was really good.
We actually don't know that it's Xbox One.
Yeah, could be 360.
Wait, so let's think about what are 360 exclusives. I feel like PS4
It's
has
not on.
most of them. Was this game made by Microsoft?
Nope.
Oh man, we're getting down to.
Yeah. We got 4 left. Mm-hmm. Third-party game.
So it's a third-party game that was Microsoft exclusive, involved shooting.
It's not
Are you
Sunset
Lara
Overdrive.
Croft? But there's been multiple sequels to that, and it's part of, and it is a sequel, so it can't be that.
I'm trying to think of a shooter that was kind of part of a series, but kind of not.
I mean, he's basically said it's the only one. Like, try to think of one-off, so maybe there was some weird mobile or handheld spin-off.
It's not
thingy.
open world.
And it came to retail.
Jeez.
Third party. Who are the big third parties releasing exclusive Microsoft games?
Exclusive? Oh, not visceral. Yeah, not.
I mean, Sunset Overdrive was a great guess.
Yeah, that is really good.
Did we give it an award? Was it like an award-winning best of game?
Probably. I won't count that one, but because I can't tell you exactly. But it's
Significant.
Definitely,
That's
like-
cool. Okay.
well thought.
We got a freebie, guys.
Yeah, we did it.
I'm still a little weirded out because I feel like it's too late to spend a question on it, but I wish I knew if it was Xbox One or Xbox 360.
That'd be nice.
We got to spend a question on it.
Okay.
Do it.
Was this an Xbox 360 game?
Yes.
So late 360 game.
So it's a late 360
yeah,
game.
fairly late.
Yeah, it's a late 360 game. And there's I'm still thinking about that wording. There's only one that you will remember, or that you would
So let's see, what the hell was going on in around that year? Skyrim was 2011, so it could be around that late console era.
Right.
Portal 2 was around that era.
I
I know those weren't Xbox exclusives, but I'm just trying to set my mind space.
Right. The Darkness, but there was a sequel.
Oh, good call.
What was Rare working on then?
Oh yeah, they did Nuts and Bolts.
The Darkness, Crackdown 2
Yeah,
came
yeah,
out
but it
then.
can't be Crackdown.
Right,
That's a
'cause
good guess though.
Banjo-Kazooie.
And
What
it's
came
first
out after? Kinect games.
Yeah, it won't be a Kinect game.
Why couldn't it be a Kinect game?
It just won't. It's a shooter. I don't know. It just won't be.
We don't know it's a shooter though,
But you
right?
shoot.
We know that you shoot, right? We don't know that it's a shooter, but we're too close now that I don't want to spend a question on it.
You have 3 questions left. So you were goofing off in the beginning.
Man,
What if it's Kinectimals?
you don't shoot in that game?
Well, you know what? I play 20 questions to have fun, Damon.
That's true.
I have a participation award. And what if you wore a hat?
If you had worn a hat, this
Should
would
I
have
ask
over already.
does it take place in now or the past?
I feel like we have enough to try to get pretty good about narrowing it down.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of
Late. That's there's such a tiny window. Late 360 exclusives.
that were highly regarded in the office.
Yeah, that were highly
okay.
regarded. I feel like
Wait, he said no hat, right?
no hat.
Damn it!
At all.
I was
whole
gonna,
hat
I was gonna
controversy.
say maybe Dark Watch.
What the hell is Dark Watch?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Because that was a late. No, was that a PS? No, that wasn't a 360 shooter. That was the original Xbox.
Here's a freebie. It's not Dark Watch.
No, I know it's not Dark Watch because Dark Watch was
Yeah,
an Xbox.
I can't even
original
think of
game, not a
I can't even
360
think of
game.
any games from that period.
And you said it came out in retail.
Yes.
Yeah.
Only though? Is that what the
No,
question
I just
was?
asked, did it come to retail? He said
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Because I wanted to eliminate downloadable.
Like Limbo and stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
frankly. Although we know it's 3D, but yeah, stuff like that. The Maw.
The Maw. That was a good game.
I know, it's a great game.
It's not open world.
No. And it's not.
I think it
open.
needs to be narrowed down more.
Yeah. And Max Payne 3, did that come to PS3?
That came to PC. I
Oh, and it's a sequel. Never mind. This game's not a sequel. It's the
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Is that whether or not it's a series, it's definitely the first.
We're in trouble here, Damon.
Yeah.
We are. This is pretty bad, man.
Is it Dishonored again?
Yeah, I know.
Dishonored is
Yeah,
part of a series, though.
does this game take place on Earth?
Yes.
Sorry, I mean,
No, it's fine. Those are fine questions.
so it eliminates any kind of like sci-fi.
right. It's a
RPG,
terrestrial setting.
Well, it could be sci-fi in the future.
like Homefront. Well, that was multi-console.
Homefront's multi-console.
Was it multi-console?
Enslaved.
I played Homefront on 360. Was that game multi-console?
I can't remember.
You're at 18.
Homefront might actually be a very good thread to tug on, maybe.
I just don't recall if it came to other consoles. I mean, it certainly came to PC though.
Right.
And maybe the reason it only got a pseudo sequel is because the sequel's forthcoming.
What about like Bulletstorm and?
Oh my God, you might have
No,
just.
but that's not on Earth. That's
Yeah,
on
no,
the
you're
alien
right.
planet.
It's
Something
not.
else came out at the same
man.
time. We compared it to Bulletstorm.
There's
a lot.
Gears. Well, that got sequels too. Yeah, Bulletstorm's a good guess. Would have been a good guess.
And I loved that game.
Something came out at the same time, like Duke Nukem 3D came
Duke
out.
Nukem
that's-
Forever.
Forever, that's what it was. Yeah.
That's not set. Is Duke Nukem
Yeah, it's on Earth.
Forever set on Earth?
I don't know. I didn't play it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you go to the.
I assume
you
it
go
is.
To, you go to landmarks.
He also doesn't wear a hat.
We never confirmed he plays a man, but there's nothing left. I mean, that's not Lara Croft, so.
Oof.
Well, we have 2 questions left,
Yeah.
right? So, what do you think? Do you want to pull on the Duke Nukem thread?
No, I want to come up with a question that narrows
No,
down.
because
home.
that came out on PC for sure.
Right.
Does this game take place in the United States?
Yes.
Okay, so I narrowed that.
mean-
I specifically asked that to try to hone in on
On
Homefront.
Homefront.
Yeah.
I mean,
What was that game?
it's got to be Homefront. It's a late.
Okay, so
But I think Homefront was multi-platform.
so here's the thing. We have one question left.
Yeah.
Okay, we have one question left. Now, so let's ask the question
What else takes place in the United
and
States?
think about it.
No, but we have to ask: is it Homefront as our last question? If we think that's what it is.
What about if
do we?
it
Is
takes
that- is
place
that-
now or in the
last
future?
question is
Yeah.
Would
on
be your
guess?
guess, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're out.
So it's really 19 questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Well,
we're
no.
done.
Sort of. You need to know after 19 questions. Yeah, I
I
guess
feel like
so.
there's something we're missing that we just haven't.
Oh,
thought
I'm
of.
sure we're gonna be mad as hell.
Borderlands
I don't
came out
think-
that time. Borderlands 2.
Oh, those are good guesses too.
But they were.
Then they got sequels.
But they both are part of
I
series.
feel like the biggest clue
But wait,
is
does
that it's-
Homefront have like a sequel?
there's a sequel coming out,
Yeah, that's true.
so it's not out yet. I think that game was multi-platform, but I can't think of anything else. It takes place in the United States. How many games do that?
right.
It was multi-platform. I'm just gonna say it. It was multi-platform.
I think it probably was.
Yeah. I know who reviewed it and why they reviewed it, and it was multi-platform.
Yeah. Colin reviewed
What?
that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yep.
Crap.
Gotta guess something.
Trying to think of others. I'm trying to
So
think
we
of
have
other
to
shooters.
guess something.
Well, unless you just want to give up.
I'm not giving up now.
Why
No,
is
no, no.
Sean helping?
Yeah,
We-
Sean usually helps.
in the
Does
absence-
Sean know?
Sean's not even listening.
We called for the Sean
left.
Lifeline. We didn't get it.
I do not know.
In the absence of a better guess, what takes place in the United States? That's such a big hint.
Yeah, that's a good one. Remember Enslaved? That was a fun game.
Does that take
like
place
that
in
game.
the U.S.?
Andy Serkis joint.
Yeah, I liked Enslaved a lot. Jeez. I feel so dumb right now. It's like I don't want to give in, but I almost feel like we don't have a.
No. Okay, I'm gonna guess. Is it Homefront: The Revolution?
No.
Aww.
It is not.
That was multi-platform,
God.
wasn't it?
You weren't able to get there this week, but Matthew suggested Alan Wake.
That's where we screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we screwed up. He can shoot, but it is definitely not a shooter.
He shoots a bunch of different guns in that game.
Yeah. No, shooting is definitely how you play that game, but like it's not.
Yeah.
You know,
American
It's a hard.
Pacific Northwest out in 2010.
I can't believe that came out after 2010. That's
It
crazy.
came out in 2010. Yeah.
Our radars were not tuned to that wavelength at all. We were all just trying to think of shooters.
Oh,
Published by Microsoft, developed by Remedy.
Yep.
Survival horror game.
What
Single
was
player.
the sequel thing that?
It got a pseudo sequel. It
A
got
downloadable Alan Wake American Nightmare.
Yeah.
But I
Oh, okay,
don't think many people think about that one.
gotcha.
Yeah, Alan Wake.
Oh,
That
man.
was an Xbox exclusive. Really good game too. So we probably gave it an award.
If only
I actually
he'd
didn't
worn a
like it.
hat, then we would have gotten it.
He didn't wear a hat, and so I didn't know what kind of footwear he wears. I
he
assume,
wears a hat, doesn't he?
no, Alan
I don't
Wake.
remember him in the.
You're gonna try and get off on a technicality. You were misled. No, Alan Wake doesn't wear a hat.
He has a flashlight.
Want to call for a
He has
mistrial?
flashlight. I would assume he wears boots, but I don't really know what kind of.
Yeah, you
footwear.
couldn't get the sneakers one nailed down.
Okay, I think you're right. He's got good hair.
Yeah. Alan Wake.
Oh man.
That was a hard one.
Good suggestion, Matthew.
Yeah.
I thought the more recent games would be easier to guess, but so far we have more luck with like the 8-bit NES.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
The world got too big after that.
That's right.
Yeah, it's true.
Got beyond us.
All right, that's all the Scoops we have for you this week. Thank you for joining us. Remember, you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Sam. My name is Damon. This is IGN GameScoop, and we're out.